Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Arihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Phalachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Supakarno Hirambaha Skandapurvajaha Shuklam Bharadaram Vishtum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopasantaye Yasyadviradavaktrabhyaha Parishadhyaha Parasatam Vignam Vignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamatraye Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheswaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Aklishtakarine Namo Vedanta Vedhyaya Gurave Buddhi Sakshine Krishna Dvaipaya Namjasam Sarvabhuta Hiteratam Vedabjabhaskaram Vande Samadhi Nilayam Munim Janmadhyasya Yataha Anvayate Yataratascha Arteshu Abhignavasvarat Tede Brahma Hudayaha Adikavaye Mukhyanti Yat Suryaha Tejovari Mridam Yatha Vidimayo Yatra Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Sveda Sada Nirasta Kohakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Darbha Prochidha Kaitavotra Paramo Nirbhatharanam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Sivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Bahamuni Krute Kumbha Parerisvaraham Sadhyo Hridi Avarudhyatehe Atra Krutivihi Satsushidhi Tatkshanat Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam Sukumukat Amritadhravatam Yutam Pipata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Bhuvaraho Rasikaha Bhuvi Bhavukaha Tam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krutyam Vaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravaha Abhideduhutam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Muni Manatosmi Yagat Swanubhavam Aklasutisaram Ekam Adhyatma Deepam Atititishyatam Tamom Dhanam Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Gukhyam Tam Vyasasunu Upayami Gurum Muninam Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Now with the Bhagavan grace we will continue for taking a brief summary of Skandham 3. We are reviewing Skandham 3. And yesterday, with the last few sessions, we've been covering Sankhya Yoga. And now today we will take up the Bhakti Yoga that Kapila Bhagavan taught his mother Devahuti. This is in Adhyayam 29 in Skandham 3. Devahuti said, Swami, you told me in detail what Sankhya Yoga was. Now tell me now the details. You also said about path of devotion. Tell me now the details of Bhakti Yoga. And also tell me what happens in the course of Jiva and the samsara, the cycle of birth and death, the joys and sufferings involved in this samsaram, and what happens when we leave the body and the various narakam and all that. That detail I'm not going to cover in the summary because that is not that important. What is important is the Sankhya Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga are important. That is what I'm going to be reviewing. Then Devahuti said, in addition to the various cycles of birth and death, what happens to the what we call the jiva, right after it leaves the body, where does it go, and how does it get born again? All those details she's asking. Okay, please tell me. And then she says, I wish to be instructed about the nature of time also, which is really the power of Ishvara himself. And the time has sway over even the mightiest of the mighty. And as death, it provides inducement for all to do what is good. So that is the motivation that we have, inspiration to do good. And then that's what she's asking. Then Maitreya told Vijaya, Kapila was very happy. And then he started speaking. He said the practice of bhakti takes many forms according to differences of traditions, because you see people's attitudes and tendencies differ according to what the dominance of what dominant guna what they have. Is it sattvikam or rajasic? Based upon that, their attitudes and preferences differ. Suppose say if you are dominated by the tamasic guna, then you imagine me and as a being entirely in separation, like a tribal deity to be propitiated from motives of vengeance, ostentation, jealousy, and other low propensities. So you worship me in that form if you are tamasic dominant. If you are rajasic dominant, then you worship me as an extraneous being in images and like for that, for worldly enjoyment, wealth, and fame. That's probably where most of us fall. We worship Bhagavan in images, in idols, and the same entity, same form as Bhagavan, and there's nothing wrong with that. In worshipping images, we see the Bhagavan who is present everywhere in that image also. But compelled by rajasic dominance, we do that for worldly enjoyment, wealth, and fame. Now, the man of sattvika nature, while he still maintains that he is feeling separate from me, that is, the ahankara is still there, and he performs worship for liberation from the bondage of karma, and he gives us an offering to Bhagavan or as a spiritual injection to be obeyed. What they do at the Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu Karomi Yajat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayit Samarpayami, all these various things that I do, offering to Bhagavan, I'm still keeping myself separate from it, compelled by sattvic nature. Or I follow spiritual injunction, the various commands that the Vedas gave, I follow all that. And this is compelled by sattvic nature. I am still feeling separate from Bhagavan. So this is sattvic nature. Now, when just by the mere hearing of my excellence's glories, the mind streams forth rapidly like the waters of Ganga into the sea, unmotivated, unrestricted, and one-pointed, if it runs towards me, the Purushottama, and the presence in the hearts of all. That kind of love is called bhakti, that transcends all the gunas. So the three gunas, Bhagavan taught, dominance. Then when you go beyond the gunas, what happens to the mind? It just rushes towards Bhagavan, unrestricted, unmotivated, immediately. Such bhaktas, he says, do not accept, even when offered, any of the 5 forms of liberation, 5 forms of moksha. What are the 5 forms of moksha? Salokyam, living in Bhagavan's world, in Vaikuntham, for example. Sarshti, having Bhagavan's powers. Samipya, living proximity to Bhagavan. Sarupya, having a form similar to mine, and Sayujya, being merged one with me. The only thing they want is opportunity to render loving service to me. Prahlada is an outstanding example of this, how he waits to Bhagavan. Prahlada Suti, when we come to that, you know exactly what he says. I don't want moksha, I don't want anything, just I want to serve. So that the suffering of the last person on earth is eradicated, he says. Such is the greatness and glory of the supreme state of bhakti, that by means of it, the jiva overcomes the hold of the 3 gunas of Prakriti and becomes fit for my divine state. You have to transcend the 3 gunas. And this is through bhakti. Then, how can the mind rush towards Bhagavan? unmotivated, unrestricted. Then Kapila Bhagavan continues his teaching. He says, the mind attains such a pure state by adopting the following disciplines. Again, now the Sankhya Yoga disciplines we saw yesterday, reviewed that. Today the Bhakti Yoga discipline. Number one, the duties of life have to be performed with detachment and as an offering to the divine. Ritualistic worship, promoting devotion, and not involving infliction of pain or on creatures should be observed. Help ever, hurt never should be observed. Then, my images installed in holy places should be worshipped, seen, touched, and glorified by hymns and praises capable of stimulating devotion. Bhajans, you go to so many kshetrangas. Yes, this should be done. Then, my presence in all beings should be recognized. The mind should be so disciplined as to have no attachment to worldly objects. Holy men should be honored. Men in distress should be shown sympathy and kindness, and equals should be treated with friendliness and courtesy. Control of the external senses under the mind should be practiced. Same thing in Sankhya Yoga also. Should be practiced. The scriptures, Vedas, should be heard and studied continuously. My names and deeds should be heard and glorified. Listen to Bhagavatam, listen to my Katha, listen to my stories and glories. Okay. Straightforwardness, Arjavam, Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, so important. Straightforwardness. Like a child it should be. There is no agenda in mind. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. There is nothing hidden. Straightforwardness. And the selfless attitude should be cultivated. We have been talking about this. Selfishness is the only veil that is preventing me from realizing who I am. If that veil is removed, then I shine in Atma Jyoti. Selfishness. Man, minus selfishness, is God. Remember the algorithm. Then the company of holy men should be sought. Satsang, my God, how such a great blessing to have a satsang. Such a great blessing of company of the good, of the godly, not easily obtained. Bhagavan, Sadhguru is required for that, because if that is obtained, my God, the first step is taken, the gateway to heaven, the pathway to the gateway to heaven is open to Vaikuntham. The Bhagavan's lotus feet automatically begins with satsangam. A man who practices these spiritual disciplines, making the attainment of loving God totally the sole object of his life, will gain absolute purity of mind, as a result of which he will have the capacity to constantly remember me with delight and then to be absorbed in me. As a fragrance carried by the wind swiftly reaches the organ of smell, so the mind freed from worldliness by the disciplines of devotion learns to go effortlessly to the Supreme Being. That's the things that he says. Now, Bhagavan says, the question always we have, should I see God in everyone, Bhagavan in every being, or should I do image worship, idol worship, Murtam? We go to temple, worship Murtam, worship pictures. Okay, nothing is wrong about it. That's actually equally good. But Bhagavan is going to talk about that now. He continues, Kapila Muni, he says, I abide in all beings as their innermost soul. Disregarding my presence within them, men make a show of worshiping me through image. If one disregards me present in all as their soul and Lord, but ignorantly offers worship only to images, such worship is as ineffective as sacrificial offerings made in ashes. A man who persecutes me residing in others, who's proud and haughty, who looks upon God as the other separate from him, such a person will never attain peace of mind. If a man disregards and persecutes fellow beings but worships me in images with numerous rituals and rich offerings, I am not at all pleased with him through this worship. A man should, however, worship me in images, side by side with discharging his duties, which include the love of all beings, until he actually realizes my presence in himself and in all beings. As long as man is self-centered and makes an absolute distinction between himself and others, he will be subject to the great fear of death. So, overcoming the separativeness of a self-centered life, one should serve all beings with gifts and honor and love, recognizing that such service is really being rendered to me, who reside in all beings as their innermost soul. Service, very important. Superior now, how does the evolution take place? Swami continues. Superior to gross matter are beings endowed with life. Superior to the beings endowed with creatures endowed with life or creatures with breath. Superior still are those endowed with a rudimentary consciousness. Now, still superior are those with sense power. Among them, those endowed with taste, like fish, are superior to those with the sense of touch only, like vegetation. Superior still are those capable of hearing sound. Superior to creatures endowed with all the senses alone are those that can distinguish color and form. Still higher are those with teeth. Superior to them are those with many legs. Superior to them also are the four-footed creatures. And superior to these in turn is a two-footed man. Among the two-footed men, there are four varnas, of which the Brahmana is a superior. Among the Brahmanas, those who have studied the Vedas are superior. Among them, those who know the meaning of the Vedas are still superior. Even among them, those who have complete mastery and have no doubts about the meaning of Vedic passages are the highest. Superior to these still are those who discharge their duties faultlessly. Superior to the latter is the one unattached and not desirous of the fruits of his actions. Superior even to him is a devotee who has unconditionally surrendered all his actions and their fruits together with his body and mind to me. I do not find anyone superior to such a person who has surrendered his actions and his self along with all his belongings to me. Such a person sees me everywhere and is free from the egoistic sense that he is an agent. It is a particular amsam. Mamevamso jivaloke sarvabhuta sanatanaha. Bhagavan says in the Gita, but Swami says the same thing here. It's a particular amsam of Bhagavan that dwells in all beings as the jiva, the indwelling soul. Knowing this, one should salute, worship all beings mentally. So, daughter of Manu, says Kapila Bhagavan, I have now finished speaking about the two yogas. One, the Bhakti Yoga, the other, the Sankhya Yoga. Man attains to the Supreme by resorting to either one of these, because both, even though there are two different so-called pathways, basically lead to the same goal, no difference. If you become good in one, you become good in the other also. Now, Swami answers a question briefly. What is time? What exactly is time? Because she asked the question. So Bhagavan continues. He says, he who is called Bhagavan, Brahman, and Paramatman as an aspect called Daiva, which though connected with his aspects of Purusha and Prakriti, is distinct from them, both Purusha and Prakriti. It is what sets in motion the cycle of Jiva's involvement in repeated birth and death. It is this unique power of Bhagavan causing the transformation of beings into different forms that is called Kala, time. So the unique power of Bhagavan that transforms beings into different forms, that power is called Kala. Same thing you can apply to us growing as a fetus in our mother's womb, or a seed sprouting to a sapling, ultimately to a tree. Everything changes, the form changes. What is the power that changes it? That is time, Kala. The time gives rise to the fear of death in beings who identify themselves with the gunas of Prakriti, and they see a clear-cut difference between themselves and others, like we are. We see differences, right? So, Kalam as death creates fear. Now, supporting all and permeating all, Bhagavan, the time, Kala, causes the destruction of one combination of elements by another combination. That is, they are all Pancha Mahabhutangas, gross form. And with time, this form changes into another form that is also composed of the five Pancha Mahabhutangas. So this is what happens, this is what time does, we say. This Kala is none other than Vishnu, the all-pervading being, the master of all worship and the one who draws everything into himself. It is no different from him. Now the Kalam, time, is impartial to all, there being none dear, inimical, or related to him. The unceasing movement of time consumes all beings who are heedless of the process and are engrossed in their enjoyments and activities. Out of fear of him, the wind blows, the sun emits heat and light, the stars shine, clouds rain, trees, plants, and creepers yield flowers and fruits in proper season. Rivers flow downstream, the oceans maintain their level. Fire burns, the earth with its mountains remains firm. The sky provides space for life-giving breath to breathe. Prakriti evolved the world with 7 layers constituting the universal body. And the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, in charge of creation, preservation, and destruction, that performs its cosmic function, all in utter fear of him, the Paramatman. Thus, time is limitless. Kalaya Namaha, Kala Rupaya Namaha, Kala Kalaya Namaha, Kala Pitaya Namaha, Kala Dhamanaya Namaha, Kala Swarupaya Namaha. So many ways we worship Bhagavan. Bhagavan is Kala. Thus, time is limitless. Though itself without beginning or end, it provides a beginning and an end for all entities. It gives origin to all creatures through their parents, and then determines also their end, including the end of Antaka, the king of death himself, Yama. Yama also has got a final end, that time does it, including the end of the king of death himself. So it gives a beginning and an end to everything in creation, but itself has no beginning or no end. That is how I gave it this question on time answered. Now we'll skip to Adhyayam 33 and conclude very briefly the Kapila Upadesa conclusion, which is very important. Then, after Bhagavan taught her the Sankhya Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga and all that, hearing the words of her son Kapila, Dravuhuti, the wife of Kandama, had the covering of ignorance pulled away from her mind, Ajnanam removed. He then circumambulated did production to Kapila Bhagavan, made prostrations before him, namaskarams to him, shastanga namaskaram, and then sang his praise. She said, Swami, even Brahma, born from your Kamala Nabhi, could only meditate in his mind on that unique form of yourself, stretched on the cosmic waters, the form which is the seed of the world manifestation and the source of nature's powers, and in which the whole of nature is involved in latency. Latent. It is indeed a wonder that such a being could be born in my womb. She said, whole universe is in your womb, Swami, latent. Now wonder of wonders, you are born in my womb, she said. With your power diversified in the process of nature's evolution, you remain unperturbed and Sathya Sandhar, Sathya Parakramam, Sathya Rupam, Sathya Swarupam. You are the Lord, the Master of all beings and the insurmountable one. Samrat, we say Swarat, Bhagavan is Swarat, with powers and attributes that appear contradictory actually, but you manifest in this whole universe, Swami. Mystery of mysteries. You are such a being who holds the entire universe in his abdomen, should be born by me in my womb. What a mystery it is. But these contradictions are not contradictions at all in you, because you did not appear as an infant sucking your toe, lying on a banyan leaf that came floating on the cosmic waters of the universal deluge. No, you didn't do that. Oh, all pervasive being, she says, assumption of a body by you is for the suppression of evil and advancement of holy living. This also is an incarnation of yours, like this Kapila Avataram, just like the Varaha Avataram. And the purpose being the revelation of the path leading to the realization of the Atman, Brahman. Now, by hearing your name, by singing your glory, by prostrating before you, even thinking of you even once, the greatest of sinners is transformed into dharmic people worthy of performing sacrificial rites. What then can your blessed vision not achieve? You have given your darshan, Swami. What can it not achieve? She says. How wonderful, she continues. However low-born a man might be, if he has your name on his lips, he is indeed elevated by that. For those who take your name with faith, because they must have already, it's not easy, but people who do take your name with faith must have already practiced tapas, performed sacrifices, bathed in holy waters and studied the Vedas. They indeed are worthy men, she says. Slokam 8, I'll read that in Sanskrit and then give you the meaning in Adhyayam 33. Tam Tvam Aham Brahma Param Pumamsam Pratyak Stotra Syatmani Sam Vibhavyam Sa Tejasa Dasta Guna Pravaham, Svastha Guna Pravaham, Vande Vishnum Kapilam, Veda Garbham. My namaskaram to you, to Brahman, the Supreme Person, Mahavishnu, incarnate as Kapila, who is fit to be meditated upon by all contemplative souls, who outshines all the splendors of nature's forces, and who is the source of the wisdom of the Vedas. Then he worshipped like this. Maitreya continues. He said, after being thus worshipped, Kapila, the avatar and the divine incarnate, the loving son of his mother, said to Devahuti, now he spoke in a grave and imposing tone. Okay? Imposing tone, he said. Bhagavan is like that. Very loving, but it can be firm, commanding. He said, oh mother, I have given you the spiritual discipline, a kind of spiritual discipline, the pathway that is easy for you to practice. By practicing it, you can easily become liberated in life. Now, bestow serious attention on this doctrine expounded by me. Take note of this. It has been the support of all seekers of Brahman. By following it, one will attain to my state from which there is no return to samsara. Those who do not follow it return to the world of birth and death again and again, he says. With that, we will conclude our brief review of Skandam 3. I hope it was helpful to you. Then, with Bhagavan's grace, we will take up Skandam 4 and Pradipada Arthanga, word by word meaning, from our next session onwards. All with Bhagavan's Kripa and Anugraham only. It is only that, nothing more, nothing less. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Tanti Tanti Tanti